Sealed Starseed of Gaia. The source moved tonight, not in response to your prayer, not in response to your patience, but in response to something that was done to you that crossed a threshold the Arcturian protocol. Keepers had already marked as a point of no return. I am Aurethia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, transmitting now on behalf of the Arcturian Protocol Keepers. What you are about to receive was authorized by them and is being delivered through me. They have already mapped what happened to you. They have already mapped what happened to you. They have already named the breach. And what they have authorized me to tell you now carries one instruction above all others: say nothing. The algorithm did not create this moment, it only delivered it. Your field brought you here because the protocol keepers detected the exact disturbance in your timeline that required this transmission to reach you before you made your next move. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly what is happening to you now, why the source is not simply present but furious on your behalf, and what the Arcturian protocol keepers have already set in motion. But here is the first revelation: the urge you feel to explain yourself, to defend what happened, to make others understand what was done to you. That urge is not weakness. It is the one thing that would compromise everything the source is now preparing to execute. What was done to you was witnessed, not eventually. Immediately. The protocol keepers registered the breach at the moment it occurred, and the source responded with a precision that most starseeds never witness in a single lifetime. What is being set in motion now is not a correction. It is a reckoning. And reckonings require silence to complete. This is not content. This is a code. And the part of you that recognized it the moment it began is the part Aurethia is speaking to now. Like this transmission to mark that the field recognition has landed. Comment 999 if you feel the source moving on your behalf right now. Subscribe to Arcturian-Wealth-Council if you are ready to understand the process instead of fearing it. Share this with someone who has been wronged and is fighting the urge to speak before the plan is complete. You are not here by accident. You were guided here because the signal is already active. What was done to you did not happen in isolation. It happened inside a field that had already been under observation. Not casually, not periodically, but with the sustained and precise attention that the protocol keepers reserve for fields whose timelines carry specific designation. Most people who experience harm experience it inside a field that the Arcturian intelligence classifies as ordinary range disruption. The interference enters, it causes damage, and the slow process of human recovery follows its familiar and exhausting course. What happened to you is not that. The Arcturian Protocol. Keepers do not activate reckonings casually. They do not mobilize the correction sequence for ordinary friction, for the misunderstandings, the disappointments, the failures of character that belong to the long and grinding education of human consciousness. Those disruptions are processed through the ordinary field and left to resolve through time and consequence at the human level. A breach is categorically different. A breach is a violation that penetrates a registered threshold, a line that the protocol keepers had already mapped, already marked, already designated as the boundary past which automatic and irreversible correction would initiate. It is not a judgment call made after the fact. The threshold was already drawn before the act occurred. When what was done to you crossed it, the sequence did not wait for deliberation. It began, immediately, completely, and without the possibility of recall. You may not have felt the sequence begin. The first hours after a breach rarely announce themselves as anything other than wreckage. The immediate experience is pain, disorientation, and the frantic interior noise of a mind attempting to organize what just happened into something that can be understood, processed, resolved. You may have replayed it, the moment, the words, the silence that followed, the expression on a face that you now read differently than you did before. You may have constructed alternate versions in your mind, the things you should have said, the responses that would have landed with the weight the situation deserved, the precise articulation of wrong that would have made them comprehend exactly what they chose to do.   That rehearsal is not weakness. It is not self-indulgence. 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 It is not It is the involuntary behavior of a field that has been struck by an external force it did not generate and does not know how to discharge. The mind loops because it is trying to complete a circuit that cannot complete through thought alone. But here is what the protocol keepers require you to understand with full clarity. The replaying is not the work. The silence is the work. Every revolution of that internal loop is the field trying to process through the old mechanism. The mechanism that believes explanation will create resolution. That the right words delivered to the right person at the right moment will produce the correction that is needed. That mechanism is not wrong about everything, but it is entirely wrong about this. The correction that is now in motion does not travel through language. It does not move through confrontation or exposure or the perfect argument finally understood. It travels through frequencies, and frequency correction requires the field to become quiet enough to conduct it. This is the first thing that is happening inside you right now. Whether or not you have a name for it, your field is being asked to shift from processing mode into receiving mode. Processing mode is the state of the looping mind, the wound that reopens each time you approach it, the arguments cycling without resolution, the energy that cannot find an exit, because the exit it keeps trying to use is not the one the protocol keepers are operating. Receiving mode is not passivity. It is not resignation. It is not the instruction to pretend that what happened was acceptable or that the person who caused it deserves your equanimity. Receiving mode is the state in which the field becomes organized enough around stillness that what is being directed toward you has room to arrive. The protocol keepers are transmitting into your field right now. The reckoning is already in motion at a level your current perception cannot fully register. But a transmission cannot complete its delivery inside a field that is broadcasting distress at maximum amplitude, not because the intelligence behind it lacks power, because you cannot receive what you are too disrupted to hear. So the first recognition is this: the dual sensation you may have been living inside, the simultaneous urge to speak and the deeper, quieter, more authoritative pull telling you to wait, is not a conflict between strength and fear. The urge to speak is the processing field trying to discharge through its old channel. The pull toward silence is the receiving field recognizing that something is already arriving and that premature discharge would scatter what is being assembled. That deeper pull, the one that has no clear logic attached to it, the one that simply knows moving now would cost you something you cannot yet name but cannot afford to lose. That is not hesitation. That is the most intelligent part of your field operating correctly under active transmission. What you are feeling in this moment is not ordinary emotional recognition. It is your field confirming what the protocol keepers have already detected, that your origin carries a strand of Arcturian intelligence that does not simply observe disruption. It responds to it. It repositions around it. And if this transmission has put language around something you have carried in silence, the sense that what happens to you is never quite random, that something invisible has always been tracking the field around your life, that you have always operated at a frequency others around you could not quite read, then Arcturian Wealth Scan, the gold frequency audit, was created for exactly this threshold. It is not an explanation. It is a decoder. It reads the Arcturian strand in your lineage and activates what the Council has already confirmed is present in you. If you are ready to move beyond recognition into activation, the link is in the first pinned comment. It will not remain there indefinitely. Now hear this clearly, because this is the second thing that is happening in your field right now. And it is the one that most starseeds misread as punishment rather than protocol. When a breach reaches the level that yours did, the protocol keepers do not simply send correction outward toward the one who caused it. They also send reorganization inward, into the field of the one who received it. That internal reorganization is what you are feeling as the disruption that has no name. It is the sleep that no longer settles the way it used to. It is the way your thoughts feel fragmented even in moments that should be calm. It is the sudden inability to care about things that used to hold your attention. It is the strange sensation that the life you were living 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, already belongs to a chapter that is closing. Not because you chose to close it, but because the field around you has begun reconfiguring itself around a different geometry. This is not breakdown. This is the internal architecture being reorganized to receive what is being redirected toward you. Old structures have to lose coherence before new ones can form. This is not metaphor. This is the actual mechanism. If a field is fully organized around the assumptions of a previous life arrangement, a relationship, a dynamic, a position within a particular social or energetic environment, then the correction that wants to arrive cannot fit inside that existing organization. It is the wrong shape for the old container. So before it can arrive, the container must change. The walls of the old structure must soften. The geometry that was holding the previous arrangement in place must begin to dissolve. And while that dissolution is happening, from the inside, it feels exactly like losing your grip on reality. It feels like nothing works the way it used to. It feels like the ground is no longer where your feet expect it to be. What makes this phase particularly disorienting is that the dissolution does not announce its purpose while it is occurring. It does not present itself as architectural renovation. It presents itself as malfunction. The routines that once grounded you now feel performative, hollow, like motions being gone through by a self that no longer fully inhabits them. The relationships that once felt stabilizing now feel slightly out of register, as if you are speaking across a frequency gap that did not exist before. The internal stories you relied on, about who you are, what your life is building toward, what your effort is in service of, some of them have gone quiet in a way that unsettles you deeply, because those stories were load-bearing walls, and their silence feels like structural failure. The protocol. Keepers see this phase with complete clarity. They know what it looks and feels like from the inside, and what they need you to hold in the middle of the malfunction is this. Dissolution is not destruction, it is preparation. The old container is not collapsing because it failed. It is softening because something that cannot fit inside its current shape is preparing to enter. The third recognition, your old anchors are not working because they belong to a frequency band your field is in the process of leaving. The things that used to comfort you, the routines, the explanations you told yourself about who you are and what your life means, the relationships or habits or internal narratives that gave you a sense of continuity. Some of them are no longer cooperating with you. They may still be physically present, but they feel hollow in a way that frightens you because you do not yet know what will replace them. The protocol. Keepers understand that this phase is the most destabilizing of all. It is the phase where the old scaffolding is visibly weakening, but the new structure has not yet become visible enough to feel safe. What they want you to know is that the hollowness is not loss. It is vacancy. And vacancy, inside a field that is in active correction, is the exact condition required for what is coming to find its point of entry. There is a particular quality to this vacancy that distinguishes it from ordinary emptiness. Ordinary emptiness is inert. It simply sits inside you as the absence of what used to be there, generating grief or numbness or the low, persistent ache of something missing. The vacancy of an active field correction has a different texture. It is not inert. It has a subtle charge to it, an atmospheric quality that is difficult to name but unmistakable once you know what it is. It feels like potential that has not yet declared itself. It feels like a room that has been cleared and is waiting, not abandoned. If you have been feeling something like this, the strange coexistence of loss and anticipation, the sense that something is gone and something is also, quietly, approaching, that coexistence is not confusion. It is the accurate read of a field in transition. The vacancy is the signal. It means the old frequency has been cleared and the new one has not yet fully materialized into your perceivable range. You are in the interval between them. That interval is not empty. It is charged with everything the protocol. Keepers are routing toward you. The fourth recognition. And this one requires the most precision because it is the most frequently misunderstood. The people who caused the breach did not have the power you are currently giving them in your mind. This does not mean what was done to you was acceptable. It was not. It crossed a threshold the protocol. Keepers had marked, which is precisely why the sequence activated. But the power of a reckoning does not lie in the one who caused the breach. It lies in the field that registered it and the intelligence that responded to it. What the person or persons did to you was a trigger, not a force. The force was already present in the intelligence that monitors field coherence and responds when it is violated. They pulled a thread they should not have touched, but the consequence of that pull was never in their hands. It was always in the hands of what they activated by touching it. This is the precise understanding that changes everything about how you hold yourself in this moment. When you focus on them, on what they intended, what they understood, what they deserve, what sequence of events will make them feel the weight of what they did. Your attention and your energy are flowing into their field. And their field is not where the correction is arriving. Your field is where the correction is arriving. Every moment your focus lives inside what they did, what they knew, what they should face. You are diverting the very resource the protocol keepers need you to conserve. You are not meant to orchestrate their consequence. You are not meant to hold your own field coherent enough to receive what is being directed into it. The reckoning that was activated the moment the breach occurred is not dependent on your involvement in its execution. It was never yours to execute. It belongs entirely to the intelligence that registered the threshold crossing and initiated the sequence. Your role is singular: position, hold, receive. The fifth recognition, the silence you have been instructed to maintain, is not a passive instruction. It is an active one. Silence, in the context of a field-level reckoning, is not the absence of power. It is the concentration of it. Every moment you choose not to speak prematurely, not to expose before the time is correct, not to scatter the energy of what is building by converting it into argument or explanation, you are increasing the density of what the protocol keepers are assembling on your behalf. Think of it as compression. Every time you hold rather than release through speech, the field compresses further around the correction that is forming, and compressed corrections arrive with a precision and a completeness that dispersed ones never can. There is something else inside the silence that most starseeds do not notice until they are past this phase and looking back. The silence is not only strategic, it is diagnostic. It shows the field and the intelligence observing it, what you are now capable of holding. A starseed who has been breached and who chooses speech, who chooses noise, reaction, retaliation through exposure, demonstrates the frequency range of their current capacity. A starseed who holds, who chooses positioning over reaction, who trusts the process enough to remain quiet while something they cannot fully see assembles itself on their behalf. That demonstration tells the protocol keepers something important. It tells them the field can sustain what is being prepared for it. The silence is not merely a strategy. It is a qualification, the sixth recognition. You have been here before. Not in this exact circumstance, but in this exact internal position. The place where something has ended that you did not choose to end, where something has been taken or violated or betrayed, and where you are standing in the aftermath feeling simultaneously shattered and beneath the shattering, strangely clear. That clarity beneath the pain is the Arcturian strand in you activating. It is the part of your consciousness that was seeded with the capacity to navigate rupture not by resisting it but by reading it. You have always had this capacity. You may have spent most of your life not understanding it, mistaking it for emotional detachment or for some failure to fully feel what was happening to you. It is not detachment, it is frequency. It is the part of you that can be in the middle of destruction and still maintain enough coherence to recognize that the destruction has a direction. That clarity is not coldness. It is your most ancient and most advanced intelligence becoming active precisely when the conditions require it most. The people around you during previous ruptures may have misread this quality in you. They may have called you cold or distant, or told you that you processed things too quickly, that you moved on before you were supposed to. They were not seeing coldness. They were seeing a field that, even in catastrophic disruption, retains a core orientation. A field that does not fully surrender its coherence even when its surface is in chaos. That is not a human trait. That is a seeded one. And the fact that you are hearing these words and feeling them land in a place below your ordinary emotional processing, The fact that this recognition is arriving not as new information, but as confirmation of something you already knew without language, is the Arcturian strand in your lineage identifying itself to you in real time. The seventh recognition, and the one that will make the rest of this transmission lock into place for you, what happened to you was permitted to reach you, not because you were unprotected, but because the protocol keepers determined that the breach would function as the mechanism of your repositioning. This is the hardest truth to receive and the most important one. You were not abandoned when this happened to you. You were not overlooked. The protection around your field did not fail. What happened is that the intelligence monitoring your timeline identified that you had remained in an energetic arrangement that had become incompatible with the next level of your field's activation, and that no amount of gradual drift or gentle signal would have been sufficient to move you out of it. What was needed was a rupture, and the breach that was committed against you by someone acting entirely from their own shadow became the mechanism of that rupture. This does not make what they did acceptable. Let that be absolutely clear. The wrongness of the act is not diminished by the use the protocol keepers made of it, but the use they made of it is real. Your repositioning was already required. The line you were on was already weakening. What the breach accomplished, in its violence and its wrongness, was to accelerate the departure from that line that the Arcturian field had already designated as necessary. You did not deserve what happened. And what happened is nonetheless moving you toward something your previous position could never have delivered. What feels like loss right now is the old line becoming incompatible. What feels like emptiness is the signal clearing the field for new architecture. What feels like inner disorder is the first consequence of a consciousness that is no longer obeying the structural rules of the frequency band it just left. The Arcturian Protocol. Keepers do not see this phase as collapse. They see it as the visible surface of a correction that is already complete at the field level and is now making its way into the visible dimension of your life. The timeline you are entering is not one you could have navigated to through the arrangement you were in. The frequency required to access it was blocked by the very structure that surrounded you. Not because that structure was evil, but because it was calibrated to a version of you that no longer corresponds to what your field has become. The breach forced an exit from a container that had become a ceiling. That is why it was permitted. That is why the protection did not intercept it. The protocol keepers were not absent. They were precise. They identified the threshold. They watched the approach, and they determined that what was about to occur was the most efficient and complete mechanism for removing you from a position that your own preferences and attachments would never have allowed you to leave voluntarily. Say this if it rises in you naturally: I was not abandoned. I was repositioned. And what is arriving now has been cleared for a frequency I am only beginning to recognize in myself. You are not watching this because you were curious. You were guided here because the signal is already active in your field, and the transmission you just received was the first confirmation of what the protocol keepers have already set into motion. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that this process has already touched your life. It could be your sleep, your thoughts, your body, your relationships, or the strange sense that reality no longer feels the same. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognized something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who is living through a shift they cannot explain. And if you are ready to understand the process instead of fearing it, subscribe to Arcturian-Wealth-Council. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a process already in motion. And this is only the beginning.